Kids mix up sight words all the time, like reading from as for and when as what. So what's going on in their brains, and how can we fix it so that they read these words correctly? With over 11 years as a reading specialist, I've discovered the easiest and most effective method for getting these words to stick, so that your child can read more fluently and no longer has to guess at these words. Now, many parents wonder, is this a sign of dyslexia? They worry because their child mixes up saw and was constantly, even after practicing it 100 times. So why isn't it sticking? In this video, we'll cover this, plus the strategy that neurologists have fully backed based on their recent findings and discoveries about the brain. So let's get into it. To start, I want to show you an experiment that I did with my family. First of all, I showed them this image and I showed it to them for 10 seconds and told them that they needed to memorize it and recreate it. Here's what happened. In their first attempt, they got pretty close, but you can see that there's some lapses in their memory of this exact shape, as can be expected after just 10 seconds interacting with it. Next, I pointed out these familiar shapes and showed them how they were connected, and pointed out this one kind of abstract shape. When they recreated the shape the second time, here were their results. Their ability to remember this picture was anchored in the things that they already recognized about it. The sailboat, the number 3, but just remembering that there was a little bit of a tweak to that one and it was a backwards 3. This was so much easier than them remembering this entire thing as just one picture. And this is how we need to approach sight words with kids. For so long, we've taught that rule breaker words just need to be taught as a picture and just show it to the kids and have them memorize it. We've done this with flashcards, we've done this with word lists, we've even done this with word shapes. But here's the thing, sight words should not be memorized as a picture. In fact, the reason that most kids mix them up is because they're just trying to store them visually, like trying to remember a really complex shape. Instead, kids need to anchor the words that they're memorizing in the sounds they already recognize. So when they're reading a word like this, they can remember the sounds that actually still make the correct sound. And then all they need to remember is that one weird sound in the middle that happens to make a different sound in this word. So how do we do this? Let's say your child was reading this sentence and read it as, "The gift is from Anna." First, you would write down the word that they read wrong, from, and the word that they saw, for. And you would say to your child, I do see some of the same letters in those words. The F is in the same, the R and the O. So I can see how you would naturally mix those up. But let's pay attention to where we hear those sounds inside of this word. You would then write sound boxes for each of these words underneath the word. So for from, we hear 4 sounds. F, And for, we hear 3 sounds. F, O, Now, let's listen for the sounds inside of from. Oh, good, there's an F. Oh, good, I see an R as well. Uh-oh, an O doesn't say So in this word, we need to remember that the O says and we can put a little heart above the letter just so that they can remember, oh yeah, in this word, it makes a funny sound. Oh, good, there's an M. And we would walk through the same process with the word for, just so they can map and again anchor in their minds that this word is normal except for that one weird sound that we need to remember. Then have your child go back and reread the sentence they misread it in and then continue reading. Now, how do you practice words like this if flashcards are the enemy? They have definitely got a bad rap in the last few years, but that is primarily because we're using them wrong. If you've walked through this sound boxes process with your child in the sight words, you can absolutely use flashcards to review them. But I will recommend that you use a set of flashcards that uses a different color for that special sound. I'll link this set in the description that you can grab totally for free from my website. These are the 28 most commonly mixed up sight words, and we've made the tricky parts red for level 1. You basically use this until your child masters these words, and then you can move them on to level 2, where all the letters are now in black, just as how they'll see them in their reading. So if you want to grab this set for free, just comment cards down below and I'll make sure to get you the link. Now, if your kids are a little bit like mine and cringe at anything that looks like homework, this was a really fun sight word game that we used for our kids to practice these sight words, again after using the soundbox strategy of learning the weird sound of each word. It's actually built into my online reading platform, so every time your child is introduced to a new sight word in one of our video lessons, that sight word is added to the game to continue to just review those words as the kids move throughout the lesson. I'll leave a link to that as well in the description below in case you want to get your hands on that. Now, is mixing up words a sign of dyslexia? There has been so much research done around dyslexia in the last 10 years, and visual mix-ups are actually not the primary way that dyslexia is now diagnosed. In fact, the sound boxes strategy that we just went over has been discovered as one of the best strategies to teach kids with dyslexia, reading difficulties, reading disabilities, because it breaks down the words into its individual sounds. So even if your child has not been formally diagnosed with dyslexia, but you suspect some kind of deeper reading issues going on, using strategies like this will exponentially help your child to read in all areas. And if you want to go deeper on methods that work really well for kids with dyslexia and reading difficulties based on the research, watch this video next. You will learn 5 science-backed strategies that you can use with any child, and it works really well for kids with dyslexia and learning disabilities. And you'll learn 5 things to avoid so that your child doesn't continue struggling with reading. So if that sounds good to you, watch this video next.